Welcome back to my YouTube channel Old Coins Value, where we explore the hidden stories and real worth of rare and collectible coins. Today we are diving deep into the world of Washington quarters and focusing on three incredible years that many collectors overlook. 1971, 1977, and 1991, these three dates.
A long and detailed journey into the history, value, and significance of the Washington quarter, with a special focus on the coins minted in the year 1991, a year that at first glance might seem unremarkable to most, but for collectors and enthusiasts holds a story rich with legacy, artistry, economics, and changing times. The Washington quarter has long been a staple of American currency, introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. It replaced the standing Liberty quarter, which had been in circulation since 1916. The decision to feature George Washington on the quarter was driven by a strong national desire to celebrate the founding father, with a portrait inspired by Jean-Antoine Houdon's bust of Washington, created in the late 18th century and designed by John Flanagan. The Washington quarter was never meant to be a permanent design. In fact, the original plan was for the commemorative coin to run for just 1 year, but its popularity and timeless image quickly secured its place in American coinage. From 1930 through 1998, the obverse design remained largely the same, featuring Washington's profile with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," as well as the year of issue. The reverse initially depicted an eagle with outspread wings clutching a bundle of arrows and olive branches, a powerful symbol of strength and peace, but it is the story behind each year and each minting that gives this coin its depth and value, and in 1991 a unique chapter was added to that continuing legacy. The year 1991 fell within a time of relative economic stability for the United States. The Cold War was drawing to a close, and American coinage had settled into consistent production patterns. The Washington quarter of this year was struck primarily at three United States mint facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each of these mints produced coins with subtle differences that collectors and experts use to classify rarity, condition, and value. The Philadelphia Mint struck circulation coins without a mint mark, while the Denver Mint used a small demint mark on the obverse to the right of Washington's ponytail. The San Francisco Mint produced proof coins, which are of higher quality, struck multiple times on specially prepared plankets to achieve a mirror-like finish. Proof coins from 1991 were issued for collectors and not meant for general circulation, bearing the S mint mark. They are considered some of the finest examples of Washington quarters for that year. What makes the 1991 Washington quarter particularly interesting is its position at the end of an era. The coin was still made from the copper-nickel clad composition, introduced in 1965 after the U.S. government ceased using 90% silver in its quarters, a decision made due to the rising cost of silver and its hoarding by the public during times of economic uncertainty. The clad composition consists of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, though lacking in intrinsic metal value compared to their silver predecessors. These quarters became an essential part of American daily commerce. In terms of design, 1991 quarters continued to feature the classic Flanagan portrait, although minor changes had been made to the dies over. Changes had been made to the dies over the decades to address wear and improve striking detail. Coin collectors often seek out coins from this year in high-grade condition, with full details on Washington's hair and a crisp eagle reverse. Finding such coins in uncirculated or mint state condition, especially with MS66 or MS67 grading, can be extremely challenging and therefore highly desirable among numismatists. Proof versions of the 1991 quarter deserve special attention, as they reflect the mint's craftsmanship during this period, produced in both regular and silver proof sets. Although silver proofs would not return until 1992, the 1991 quarters demonstrate exceptional detail and surface quality, However, there are also errors and varieties known to exist among 1991 quarters that continue to capture the attention of serious collectors. These include double dies off center strikes, clipped plankets, and other anomalies that occurred during the minting process. Such errors are rare, but they do occasionally appear and can drastically increase a coin's value, depending on the severity and visibility of the error. Another fascinating layer to this story involves the cultural and economic context of coin collecting in the early 1990s. This was a period when coin collecting saw a resurgence of interest, fueled in part by television promotions, mail-order catalogs, and a growing awareness of American history through coinage. Children and families began assembling state quarter maps well before the official 50 state quarters program began in 1999, and the Washington quarter remained the backbone of many young collections. The 1991 quarter, although not part of any commemorative series, sat at the heart of American coinage and everyday transactions, serving as a link between generations. As we examine the mintages, we see that over 1 billion Washington quarters were minted in 1991, making it a common coin in circulation. But when we break that down by mint and condition, we find scarcity in specific grades. For instance, the Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 570 million coins, while the Denver Mint produced slightly more than 630 million. However, when these coins are exposed to circulation, most suffer from nicks, scratches, and general wear, making mint state examples harder to find, and even more so with strong eye appeal and lustrous surfaces. The 1991 quarters also serve as a key study point in the broader transition of the U.S. Mint into modern practices, including laser-etched dies, improved press technology, and early steps toward the redesigns that would mark the 2000s. Understanding this coin helps collectors trace the evolution of minting technology and production quality over time. Beyond the technical and historical aspects, the Washington quarter carries with it a patriotic symbolism that few coins can match. It is not just a coin, it is a statement of national identity, trust, and tradition passed through millions of hands. For over 9 decades, when you hold a 1991 Washington quarter, you are not just holding metal, you are holding a moment in American history, one that connects the past to the present and reminds us of the role coinage plays in shaping our economic and cultural narrative. In this 2-hour video, we will continue to explore these themes in greater depth, including live demonstrations of how to identify mint marks and varieties, expert grading comparisons, discussions with collectors about their rare finds, and market value insights that show how this humble 25-cent piece can be worth far more than its face value in the eyes of a passionate collector. We will also compare 1991 quarters with those from nearby years to understand trends in quality, errors, and production. Plus, we will examine real eBay and auction house data to see what these coins are fetching on the market today. Whether you are a seasoned collector, a history enthusiast, or someone who just found a 1991 quarter in your change and became curious, this video will offer you a complete and detailed look at one of America's most iconic and enduring coins. So get comfortable, grab your coin collection, and join me as we unlock the secrets of the Washington quarter with a sharp lens on the 1991 mintage. Because here on Rare American Coins, we don't just show coins, we tell the stories that bring them to life. Significance of the 1977 Washington quarter, a coin that might seem ordinary at first glance, but has layers of historical value, cultural symbolism, and numismatic intrigue that make it a treasure worth discussing for hours. To understand the 1977 Washington quarter, we must first travel back to the roots of the Washington quarter itself, which was first minted in the year 1932. To commemorate the 200th anniversary of the birth of George Washington, the first president of the United States, the idea of placing George Washington on a circulating coin had been in consideration for decades, but it was the bicentennial of his birth that finally catalyzed the effort to honor him in a lasting and widespread way. Before the Washington quarter, the coin that dominated the 25-cent denomination was the Standing Liberty quarter, which had been in circulation since 1916. and was known for its classical design and bold representation of liberty. However, by the late 1920s and early 1930s, the United States Mint began to consider replacing it with a new design that would pay tribute to the nation's founding father and provide a more contemporary image to reflect the spirit of the era. In 1931, Congress authorized the creation of a new quarter to honor George Washington, and the original intent was for it to be a one-year commemorative issue. But the design became so popular and well received by the public that it ended up becoming a permanent fixture of American coinage. The Treasury Department originally selected Laura Garden Fraser, a respected sculptor and the wife of James Earl Fraser, who designed the famous Buffalo nickel, to design the new Washington coin, but her design was ultimately set aside in favor of one submitted by John Flanagan, a New York sculptor whose vision became the one we know today. John Flanagan's design features a left-facing bust of George Washington based on the famed bust created by French sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon in 1785, a likeness considered to be the most accurate representation of Washington during his lifetime. On the reverse side of the coin, Flanagan designed a heraldic eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, symbolizing both military readiness and the desire for peace. The words United States of America and E Pluribus Unum march over the eagle, and the denomination $quarter rests beneath it. Fast forward to the 1970s, a decade of social, political, and economic transformation in the United States, during which the Washington quarter remained a mainstay of American pocket change and commerce. The 1977 Washington quarter was minted at a time when the nation was still adjusting to the removal of silver from most circulating coinage, which had taken place in 1965. Prior to that year, quarters were composed of 90% silver, but rising silver prices and hoarding by the public forced the government to switch to a clad composition of copper and nickel in order to keep coins in circulation. The 1977 quarter continued the use of the clad composition introduced in 1965, which consisted of a pure copper core sandwiched between two outer layers of copper-nickel alloy, giving the coin its familiar silvery appearance without the use of actual silver. This change made coins more economical to produce, but also impacted their long-term intrinsic value, which is why most clad quarters are worth only their face value, unless they are in particularly pristine condition or have notable mint errors. In terms of mintage, the 1977 Washington quarter was produced at 3 different mints across the country: the Philadelphia Mint, which did not use a mint mark on its coins; the Denver Mint, which marked its coins with a small d; and the San Francisco Mint, which struck proof versions of the quarter with the S mint mark. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 256 million quarters that year, while the Denver Mint contributed more than 255 million coins. The San Francisco Mint struck over 3 million proof quarters for collector sets. Although the 1977 quarter is not considered a rare coin by normal standards, its collector appeal grows when examining coins in mint state, grades, or those with unique varieties or errors. Some examples include off-center strikes, clipped plankets, double dies, or coins with unusual toning or high-grade surfaces that have not been circulated. Such specimens can fetch much higher prices on the market, especially among numismatists and professional collectors. One of the interesting aspects of collecting Washington quarters from this era is the search for high-grade examples certified by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC. Coins graded at MS66 or higher are significantly rarer and command a premium among collectors, in particular coins with full original luster, strong strike, and minimal contact. Marks are the most desirable and often bring hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction, depending on their condition and appeal. From a historical perspective, the 1977 quarter represents a continuation of the classic Washington design, which would remain virtually unchanged until the introduction of the state quarters program in 1999. This means that the 1977 quarter was part of the final 2 decades of what collectors recall the pre-statehood era, making it a key piece in completing any comprehensive Washington quarter collection. The broader context of 1977 as a year also provides interesting historical background for understanding the culture surrounding the coin. During this time, the United States was experiencing the aftermath of the Watergate scandal, the ongoing Cold War tensions, and the rise of new cultural movements in music, film, and technology. The economy faced inflation and energy crises, while the American public navigated a changing national identity. Coins like the 1977 quarter quietly passed through the hands of millions of Americans as part of everyday life while carrying the image of one of the most revered leaders in the country's history. Today, numismatists look at coins such as the 1977 Washington quarter as both historical artifacts and artistic creations. With each scratch, dent, or blemish lies a story of circulation, a moment of trade, a transaction that connects us to the past and to each other. The coin stands as a tribute not just to George Washington, but to the American people who used it to buy goods, give change, and carry on their daily lives through generations. In conclusion, the 1977 Washington quarter may seem like just another piece of change, but it is in fact a symbol of national legacy, historical transition, artistic expression, and numismatic curiosity. Whether you are a seasoned collector, a beginner interested in coin hunting, or simply someone who appreciates the stories behind the objects we use every day, this coin offers a rich and rewarding subject to explore, and that is why we dedicated this long, detailed video to telling its story. Thank you for joining me on this journey into American coin history. Stay tuned for more deep dives into the fascinating world of rare and historical coins right here on Rare American Coins. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. We'll be back soon with another rare piece of the past. Until then, happy collecting and keep searching for history in your pocket.
Where the Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 as part of the bicentennial celebration of George Washington's birth, and it has remained one of the most iconic coins in United States history. The design features a profile of George Washington on the obverse side, created by sculptor John Flanagan, who based his work on the famous bust by Jean-Antoine Houdon. The reverse originally depicted an eagle with outstretched wings holding a bundle of arrows, symbolizing strength and readiness for war, while the olive branches beneath symbolized the desire for peace. The Washington quarter replaced the standing Liberty quarter, and its introduction marked a new chapter in American coinage. The 1970 Washington quarter belongs to a period often called the Clad era because by 1965 the U.S. Mint had shifted from using 90% silver to a copper nickel-clad composition due to rising silver prices and the hoarding of silver coins by the public. The 1972 quarters were minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, which carried no mint mark, Denver marked with a small d, and San Francisco marked with an S. Though the San Francisco quarters were produced as proofs intended for collectors, the 1972 quarter holds significance beyond its face value. It represents a time when the United States was going through major changes economically, socially, and politically. In 1970, the country was still involved in the Vietnam War. The Watergate scandal was brewing, and the American public was facing a shifting landscape of trust in government and institutions. The quarter in your pocket became more than just loose change. It was a symbol of stability and continuity, minted by a nation striving to uphold its ideals even in turbulent times. Examining the minting process, we find that the plankets used for these coins were composed of an inner core of pure copper sandwiched between 2 outer layers of copper-nickel alloy, giving the coin its characteristic silver color without containing any actual silver. The coin weighs 5.67 grams and has a diameter of 24.3 millimeters with a reeded edge. The obverse side of the coin continued to showcase John Flanagan's rendition of Washington, although over the years there have been calls and attempts to redesign the portrait. The reverse design with the eagle remained unchanged until the state quarters program launched in 1999, which revolutionized the look of the quarter forever. When we focus on the production numbers, we see that in 1970 the Philadelphia Mint struck over 215 million quarters, While the Denver Mint produced over 311 million, the San Francisco Mint issued more than 3 million proof coins intended specifically for collectors. These massive mintage numbers make the 1972 quarter a common date in circulation. But as every seasoned collector knows, the true value of a coin is not just in its mintage, but in its condition, errors, and historical context. One of the most fascinating aspects for collectors are minting errors. The 1972 quarter offers a range of such anomalies, including double dies, off-center strikes, clipped plankets, and die cracks, among others. Double die errors occur when the die used to strike the coin has been impressed twice at slightly different angles or positions, leading to a noticeable doubling of design elements, such as the date or the lettering. These coins are highly sought after and can command significant premiums depending on the severity and visibility of the doubling. Off-center strikes happen when the coin is not properly centered under their die during the striking process, resulting in a coin that is partially blank on one side, while clipped plankets occur when the blanking press fails to cut full round plankets, leading to coins with crescent-shaped clips. Die cracks are small raised lines on the coin surface where the die used to strike the coin has developed cracks over time. All of these errors offer collectors unique pieces that tell the story of the minting process and the challenges faced in mass production. But beyond errors and mint marks, the 1972 Washington quarter also serves as a cultural artifact. When you hold one in your hand, you are touching a piece of American life from the early 70s, a time when the Apollo missions were drawing to a close, when disco music was beginning to rise, when political activism was reshaping the national conversation, and when the American economy was shifting from the post-war boom to the more turbulent waters of the 70s. Inflation, unemployment, and the energy crisis were all part of the backdrop against which this humble coin circulated. The Washington quarter also played a role in commerce and daily life. Vending machines, parking meters, and payphones all relied on the quarter, making it one of the most useful and ubiquitous coins in the country. The widespread use of quarters meant that the mint had to produce them in huge numbers and ensure consistent quality. Yet despite the massive scale, each coin still carries a story. Whether it is a perfect example pulled straight from a mint set, a circulated piece that has passed through countless hands, or an error coin that offers a glimpse into the inner workings of the mint. Beyond the technical and historical details, there is the artistic legacy. John Flanagan's design has been both praised and critiqued over the decades. Some have admired the classical simplicity and dignified portrayal of Washington, while others have called for a more dynamic or modern interpretation. Nevertheless, the design endured for nearly 70 years until the state quarters program brought new life and creativity to the denomination. When we look at the collector market today, the 1972 Washington quarter is generally considered a common date, meaning most circulated examples carry little premium over face value. However, high-grade uncirculated specimens, especially those graded MS66 or higher by professional grading services, can attract strong interest from collectors. Proof coins from San Francisco, particularly those with cameo or deep cameo finish, are also prized for their sharp details and mirror-like fields. For those interested in error coins, the value depends heavily on the type and prominence of the error, with dramatic double dies or large off-center strikes fetching the highest prices. The importance of the 1972 quarter extends into the broader numismatic community, where it serves as an accessible entry point for new collectors and a nostalgic piece for seasoned hobbyists. It reminds us of the changes in American coinage, the shift away from precious metals, and the evolution of minting technology. It connects us to the past, not just the past of Washington's time, but the more recent past of our parents and grandparents, when cash transactions were the norm and the feel of coins in your pocket was a daily experience. As we continue to explore the Washington quarter, we can also reflect on the ways in which coin collecting bridges generations, teaching us about art history, economics, and national identity. The 1972 quarter stands as a symbol of continuity in a changing world, a small but enduring piece of the American story. So as you go through your collection or examine the coins in your change, remember that each quarter is more than just a monetary unit. It is a piece of history, a work of art, a product of intricate craftsmanship, and a witness to the unfolding story of a nation. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the 1972 Washington quarter. Stay tuned for more detailed explorations of coins from around the world, rare finds, minting secrets, and The fascinating world of numismatics. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this video so we can continue bringing you the rich histories behind the coins you hold in your hands. Happy collecting, and see you next time on the channel.